Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. One of the questions I've been getting asked a lot lately is, what do you do as a prepper when you're old? Us old people, we're just not gonna make it. I hear that a lot. I know that I'm just not gonna survive. I'm old, I have no way to get out, I can't bug out, I live in the city, and I just have come to the realization that I'm just not gonna survive this because I'm elderly. Or I get a lot of questions of, well, what do we do? Like, do we do anything different? How is it that at my age, I don't have the physical capabilities as others, you young whippersnappers, and how is it that I'm going to survive? And so I want to cover some things to try to help you folks that are getting up there in the age. Now, I'm not picking on you or anything, but I think we should have a light heart about this because it's unfortunate that we live in a world, we live in a society that's basically told everyone that once you hit a certain age, you're just worthless. Throughout history and in other societies, it's the opposite of that. They look to the elderly of the community as a prized possession, basically, that they should be coveted and they should be respected and they should be looked to for advice and wisdom. And unfortunately, in this modern Western society, we've thrown our elderly away as useless. They're just they're old and they can't do anything, and they're boomers and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not true. And so I want to cover some points and talk about a few things that hopefully can encourage you and give you some ideas if you're one of those that's getting up in age. Now, understand that I can't tell you exactly what to do because it's very different for everyone. I mean, there are elderly, seniors, retired, whatever term you want to use that's now politically correct because it seems to change all the time, that are very physically fit. Some of you live in the city. Some of you live out in the country. Some of you aren't very physically fit. Some of you have a lot of medical problems. Some of you have no family around, or you have no one that is of like mind to work with. So I understand that there's a wide variety of differences here, and I'm going to just try to cover some things to just kind of encourage you and help you along. Let's get into this. I've wrote some things down. You probably can't understand my writing because I missed my calling in being a doctor. First thing is obviously know your limitations. I mean, you probably already know that, or you wouldn't be asking the questions that you ask, or you wouldn't be watching this video. You already know your limitations. I mean, it stinks. I mean, I'm getting there, okay? I'm in my mid-40s, so I understand that what it's like on a daily basis around here when I realize that I can't physically do the things that I could do when I was 30, or I don't have the energy or the endurance that I did when I was 30. So I get it. I have aches and pains that I didn't have 10, 15 years ago, and I'm sure that it's just going to continue to worsen. That's just how it is. So know your limitations and realize them, and don't look at them as something bad and negative and to be sad about. Just realize what they are and set them aside. Don't dwell on it. But here's the thing, realize your assets. We have our local meeting here on a monthly basis. Y'all know about it because I talk about it. And I'm not here to pick on anyone that comes to the meeting. I'm just going to tell you kind of how I see it from my own eyes of watching. We have between 200 and 300 people coming every month. And it is a wide variety of people. Age, marital status, family, single, race, backgrounds. Some are highly educated, some, are blue-collar workers. I mean, it's all over. Veterans and non-veterans. It's a pretty wide variety of people that come to the meetings. And there's a lot of elderly, and there's actually a lot of younger people. There's a lot of people in their 20s and early 30s, married couples, young families, single people. And then, like I said, there's people coming in wheelchairs and walkers and canes, and they're towards the end of the journey in their life. And one of the things that I notice, especially just in talking to them, the young people, they're full of energy. I mean, that's obvious. We know that, right? They're wanting to get out there, and they're wanting to do things, and they're wanting to help build things, and they're wanting to do work, plans of going to someone's house and helping them build a barn, or they're on fire. but they lack experience and knowledge. They're craving, the people that come to the meeting that are younger, they're craving that knowledge. They want to know. That's why they're coming to the meetings. They're wanting to learn. They're wanting to learn how to build an off-grid system. They're wanting to learn how to take care of animals, and not just by reading it in a book, but from someone that's done it. They're wanting to learn how to can. They're wanting to learn how to garden. They're wanting to learn how to, shoot a gun even. The elderly that come to the meeting, they don't have the energy. Some of them can't even last the whole meeting, and that's not a bad thing, right? We try not to make things go too long. They wear out, right? And they're not at that stage in their life that they're raring to go build buildings and go dig ditches and wire in a house. But what they bring with them, in a lot of ways, is more important. It's definitely just as important, but it could even be more important. They bring with them the knowledge, the experience of how to live this life. They've lived through tough times, many of them. Many of them know how to do all these things without reading it in a book. They know how to go in and can their entire garden, put it into, jars, can it, preserve it, without getting the book out and reading the recipes, because they know it up here. They know how to take care of animals. They've done it all their life. They were raised that way. They know how to build a house. They've done it several times. They know how to, wire in a home. They know how to fix a car. Some of them have gone to war, and so they understand tactical, the tactics of defense and how to organize yourself to defend yourself and your community. They understand these concepts. They've lived, many of them have gone through tough times. They've lived long enough that they've experienced poverty, they've experienced joblessness. Maybe they grew up on a farm. Maybe they grew up in poverty. They understand what it's like to get up before sunrise and work until sunset, and not sit in front of a TV and playing on your phone and playing on a computer. They understand what it's like. They know what it's like to live without air conditioning. They know what it's like to preserve things when the electricity goes out. They know things. And they know it by heart. And not only that, they have the resilience that the young people just haven't developed yet, because our country has been so easy for the last 2 or 3 decades that most people, and we're talking like 99% of anyone that's, say, under 35, there's a good chance they haven't really experienced truly real hard times. I mean, there's definitely poverty. And there's people that's grown up in poverty, but I'm talking like really having to work, having to get a job at a young age so that you can support your family, having to get up every morning or early every morning to take care of the farm, to do things that was once was a norm in this country. And so the elderly, the seniors, the retired, many of them have that. And so that's your asset. Because if I'm putting together a mag, if I'm putting together a community, I don't want it to be all young people. Yeah, I want some young bucks to get out there and they can cut the wood and stack it and they can build the houses and dig the ditches. But I need people to show them how to do it. I need people to pass on that knowledge, pass on that experience, that life to them, so that they know what they're doing. Because you can't learn everything out of a book, especially not this lifestyle. Some of it, and a lot of it, you need to have firsthand knowledge of it. So let's get into some things you need to do. This is obvious, and I understand it can be difficult, and some of you, it's just not possible. But you need to improve your health as much as possible. It needs to be serious. Try to exercise as much as you can. Just do the things, eating a proper diet, improve your health as much as possible, now more than ever. If you're on medications, and even if you're not, make sure you have a month, at least a month, stocked up of your meds. And then also look into herbal remedies. Now, I'm not saying, if you have, let's say congestive heart failure, I'm not saying stop taking your stuff and no, that's not what I'm saying. But with a lot of things, there are some natural herbal remedies that are nearly as good and sometimes as good. And while it's certainly not advised to just stop taking a medication, if you were in a situation that you couldn't take it because it didn't exist, and yet you had certain plants growing around your house that could help, it could potentially be that Band-Aid and kind of transition you away from the, pharmaceutical meds. So look into what would be comparable to what you're taking. And a lot of times you can find stuff, and that may, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be pleasant. But, SHTF happens, pharmacies don't no longer exist, grid goes down, all that kind of stuff. And you can't take, your medication. If you can find a natural herbal plant type, remedy to take care of that, it could keep you alive. This is true for everyone, but it's more important in a lot of ways for you folks. Food, water, warmth, protection. Food is important. Maybe you don't eat as much. Maybe you're just by yourself. So maybe you don't need as much food, but you still need food. And for depending on your physical state as a senior, your more instant, easy, freeze-dried type foods and stuff might be better because it's just easy. It's easier. You don't have to do as much preparation and cooking and all that. But with that kind of stuff, you need to have a good water source because your freeze-dried food, that's what you have to do. You have to boil water to eat it. So make sure you have a good water source. If you're living in an apartment or in a city, there's going to be a problem there. Sure, you can store water, but you can't store water for enough forever. You need to store enough as much as possible. Figure out where you can store it and realize the weight, and have the floors can handle the weight and all that kind of stuff. But then you have to come up with an idea of where to get water when you run out. What kind of water source, and don't depend on city water. Warmth is really important unless you're living in Florida, but if you're living in Florida right now, they're kind of cold down there. Elderly are more susceptible to death and complications when it's cold. So make sure you have a good solid plan. Just about every year in colder regions, people hear about elderly people dying in the cold in their homes. So make sure you have a solid, rock solid solution to that. And then protection. It's not a secret, and it's not a put down, that people take advantage of elderly more than they do young people. They believe that they're weak and they're frail and that they can be taken advantage of. Make sure you have ample protection. If you've never fired a weapon, there are plenty out there that are easy, they're not complicated. They're not, blow your hand off, knock you to the ground, kick back and stuff. My mother, she's not an extremely experienced person with firearms, but she has some that she can shoot. My mother-in-law is the same way. My mother-in-law is senior, elderly, and she's a tiny thing. She's like really small build and everything, but she packs on a daily basis. So make sure you have protection, and don't be afraid to use it when the time comes. As far as things like your food and your water, one of the things to remember is, and really all of this, in a real SHTF, grid goes down, people are panicking, it's chaos, it's like a zombie apocalypse. Most of that panic and that violence and that just chaoticness is only going to last for a while. It's not going to last forever. So a lot of the bugging in that I'm going to talk about here in a second, it's just to get you past that craziness. If you're like, man, I don't want to go out and look for water in the midst of it because people are crazy and they're killing each other and all that kind of stuff. Try to have, if your initial bug-in plan, if that's what you're going for, try to be able to bug in for, let's say, 3 months. If you can bug in for 90 days, typically that initial craziness, running around, mugging, robbing, attacking, violence and stuff is going to be over. People are going to be dead and starving and don't have the energy to do that. So there's a good chance that after 90 days, things will start to calm down. It's going to be bad. It'll be worse, but at least there won't be the craziness, that initial panic crazy. So if you can come up with enough of this to at least get you through 90 days to where you can just hunker down and lock yourself in, that's a good thing. Which takes us to the next one, to bug out or to bug in. I can't answer that question for you. I will tell you that bugging out is more dangerous than bugging in most all situations. Not all, but most all. Bugging out, you better have a plan. You need to know where you're going. You need to know the different ways to get there and have alternative routes to get there. And you need to do it the right time. You either need to do it before the panic hits, and then it's a gamble. You know, if the panic if you bug out because you think the panic's getting ready to hit, and then nothing ever actually happens, I guess you've just wasted time and gas. Or you bug out, like I said, after it kind of dies off a little bit, literally, and calms down. And then the other option is bugging in. A lot of this depends on where you're at, what your resources are around you, that kind of stuff. But again, you know, bugging in, you need to be able to bug in solid, like lock yourself in for like 90 days. And when I say lock yourself in, make it look like no one lives there, no one, you know, that people don't even notice there's someone there. And then bugging out, it needs to be done quickly. You need to have contingency plans for that. And try to get out before everyone else is like losing their minds and they're trying to get out. Join a community or mag. Probably a lot of you are wanting to do that. I understand it's difficult. We try on here. We have our tphnetwork.com website. Maybe you can find people. I know that people are finding people over there. There's like 2,600 people on that site, and it is happening. Doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone. You might say, well, I'm old, they don't want me. You need to sell yourself, and sell yourself with your assets. It's unfortunate that there are mags and prepper communities and stuff. They're like, we don't want no old person. They're just a liability. You need to sell them on your assets, that you're not a liability. You bring so much to the table. You bring knowledge. You bring that mental fortitude. You bring, you know, the ability to show others how to do it and not out of a book. So that's something good. And then this one here, the last one. Come to the realization that the country that you loved and lived in and fought for and grew up in isn't the same anymore. Your senior citizens, your elderly, retired people are typically way more patriotic than young people. And they're beholden to that idea that America, and we got to fight for it, and that our government and that the police and the army and the military and all this kind of stuff, and that we got to be, you know, have some kind of allegiance to it. At some point, and we're getting close to that, and we're already there in some areas, you have to realize that that no longer exists, and that your allegiances are to an idea or to a document and to what once was, but not to what is now. And I think that will help a lot. I think that's one of the things that, and I'm not anti-American and anti-patriotic. In fact, I consider myself extremely patriotic. I would absolutely give my life for this idea of freedom. But America is getting to, and has already become in a lot of ways, not that idea anymore. And you have to realize, as this keeps going and going and exploding out of control, you need to come to realize that. And I think that is something that the seniors need to, you know, they're still like, well, you know, we still got to, you know, have faith in that our military and law enforcement have faith that we can elect the right person. The political party's going to do it. In some instances, that may still happen, but it will get to a point that it's no longer going to happen. And you have to come to the realization that what you fought for, what you grew up saying a pledge to and having a ton of respect for, is dying. And I mean, it could turn around, but I'm saying if we continue going down this path, you're going to have to eventually come to the realization that it's gone. And I think that in a lot of ways that can help you. I think a lot of people hold back on preparedness and stuff because they believe that it's still going to work out good in the end. And that can be a crutch. So I hope that this helps you out. I hope that this can encourage you, because just because you got some wrinkles and some gray hair, and I've got plenty of those, doesn't mean you're useless anymore. In fact, my opinion is you're way more valuable than, you know, someone that's 25 and lots of energy but doesn't have a clue with what they're doing. All right, folks, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.